The Pittsburgh Pirates welcome the Los Angeles Dodgers to PNC Park for a 3-game set. Can their good times against the Dodgers continue in a matchup of David versus Goliath?
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day. My name is Ethan Smith, your host of this wonderful show here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You can follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates for all of your news, analysis, opinions, and reactions to everything going on in the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we're about to be in the first full series of June. It's the first full week of June. This year just continues to fly on by, and the Pittsburgh Pirates will enter their first full series of June, 27-32 on the season, and will be taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers recently have been a team, obviously, that is always there. They're always at the top. We all remember the big offseason storyline of Shohei Ohtani and where was he going to go? Was he going to stay in LA? Or be it the Angels or the Dodgers? Was he going to go to New York and be a Yankee or a Met? Could the Boston Red Sox get involved? Well, the Dodgers eventually gave him the biggest contract in MLB history, and albeit Shohei is not pitching this year, Shohei Ohtani is still a top 5, top 10 player in baseball every single year, year in and year out. There's not much argument to be had there. And this Dodgers team is a top 5 team year in and year out, especially in the regular season. Postseason success aside, this is definitely, a team that could say they could have done more. They won the World Series in 2020, but it's a David versus Goliath matchup, and Michael over at Steel City Pirates had a phenomenal preview of this series. You guys should go check that out. And he pointed out something that I think is very interesting going into this series already, and it's that the Pirates have won 8 of their last 13 games, folks, against this Los Angeles Dodgers team. Los Angeles Dollars. Oh my God, that was close. I almost said it, but I said it anyway, because why not? They throw money around over there in LA. And, when you add a guy like Shohei Ohtani to a roster that already featured Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, they obviously add former Pirate Tyler Glasnow, who the Pirates, of course, will see in tonight's game against the LA Dodgers. He'll be facing off with Jared Jones. It's going to be an interesting series, I think, because both of these teams have the pitching that will stand up against the other team. The Pirates, of course, will be throwing Jared Jones, Paul Skeens, and Bailey Falter. Jones coming off of start against the Detroit Tigers that he'd probably otherwise like to forget. Paul Skeens has been absolutely tearing through lineups since he came up in the middle of May and had a phenomenal first month in his MLB career. And then Bailey Falter, folks, has just continued to be a pleasant surprise for this Pittsburgh Pirates team. He continues to go out there, give them quality starts, go deep in games, find ways to just continue to make the ground ball work. And those are going to be things that they're going to have to do against this LA Dodgers team. And you look at these matchups again, tonight it'll obviously be Tyler Glasnow. We all know how we feel about Tyler Glasnow in Pittsburgh. That whole thing with the Tyler Glasnow trade for Chris Archer, a trade that a lot of people said the Pirates lost, but realistically, I don't think the Rays really won it either. Shane Baz hasn't really amounted to much. I mean, he's amounted to something, but not a crazy amount of things. And Tyler Glasnow's not even there anymore. He's in LA, and he has a 3.04 ERA with 95 strikeouts and 74 innings pitched. So Tyler Glasnow has been an absolutely phenomenal addition to this Dodgers rotation. And James Paxton, who they'll see on Wednesday, is a lefty, 5-0 in the year, 52 innings thrown, 3.29 ERA. Does struggle a little bit, though, when it comes to strikeouts and walks. He only has 31 strikeouts to 28 walks on the season. We also know that this is a Pirates team that really does well against lefties. You saw that over the weekend against the Toronto Blue Jays, against Yusei Kikuchi, a guy who was also coming into that game pitching very well, and the Pirates tagged him pretty early and often and found a way to get it done against the lefty, and they've done that pretty much all season. I'd say really the only time we saw them get truly shut down by a lefty was last week against Tarek Skubal of the Detroit Tigers, and Skubal is one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, so you can't really be all that upset about that one. And then on Thursday, it'll be Walker Buehler facing off with Falter. Buehler, of course, did start the season on the injured list, only 25 innings pitched so far, a 4.32 ERA, 24 Ks to 7 walks, the whip at 1.32. Walker Buehler, still a phenomenal pitcher, still one of their better options that the Dodgers have as far as that's concerned. And Bailey Falter will go that day. And I do think it's interesting how this pitching is going to work, because I think, much like I said before the Toronto Blue Jay series, that it's going to be about getting to these opposing bullpens. And now the Dodgers bullpen, much better than the Pirates bullpen has been as of late. But you get these starters out of games early, and if you can find a way to make things work for yourself and get these starters out, for the Dodgers, then you're going to have success. Now, it's going to be a tough ask, especially against a guy like Tyler Glasnow tonight, who strikes out guys at will. I would definitely bet his over on strikeouts at FanDuel, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And Jared Jones, I think he has some chance to have a success against this Dodgers lineup. I mean, it is a Dodgers lineup, don't get me wrong, that does have a murderer's row of players. We know that. It has Mookie Betts. It has Freddie Freeman. It has Shohei Ohtani. It has Andy Pages, who's been one of their younger, better players. Teoscar Hernandez, Kike Hernandez, Austin Barnes. Will Smith is a big, one of the best catchers, if not the best catcher in all of baseball. Jason Hayward, Gavin Lux. They have a lot of guys, folks, that are going to probably cause problems here. And obviously, they've never seen Jared Jones. So this is interesting, too, to see how Jared Jones comes out and performs here. And Michael pointed out in his piece as well that Freddie Freeman has had a really good run of things. And Freeman continues to prove that age is just a number, Michael says, as he has a 1.291 OPS over the past week of games. So he's had a very good string of things with an 877 OPS on the season. Freddie Freeman, that swing scares the living crap out of me at PNC Park. It's a swing that I just don't think is going to be kind to Pirates pitching. And personally, I don't think that it's something that the Pirates are going to want to welcome, especially their pitching in general. Now, obviously, Nick Gonzalez has been having a good run of things as well. But what I also find interesting also is Shohei Ohtani has struggled as of late. You look at his last 15 games, he's slashing 193, 270, and 351, only has 2 home runs in the last 15 games. So you have to wonder if it's time for Ohtani to come out and have a very big series against the Pirates team, or if his struggles will continue. And as far as the pitching is concerned, it doesn't get any easier for Ohtani. It's one of those things where you look at Ohtani and you say, okay, you're facing Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, and a lefty and Bailey Falter. It doesn't get all that easy for him, especially when he's slumping the way he is right now. And you look at what's going on too, as far as things are concerned with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And there are some injuries. Alika Williams will be out of this series. Bobby Miller will be out for the Los Angeles Dodgers. But we do get to see Henry Davis come back. And it is interesting because I don't know if Davis will start tonight. It's a tough ask to have him come back and face a guy like Tyler Glasnow in his first game back at the major league level after being gone for a month. But we'll see what he can offer for this Pittsburgh Pirates team and what the Pirates can do against the LA Dodgers going into this series. And the keys to victory here, again, I think you have to find a way to get to Paxton, Glasnow, and Buehler. You have to find a way to do it. Now, this offense has seen its struggles. We know those struggles are apparent, especially against righties. 2 of these games, obviously, against righties, and very good ones in Buehler and Glasnow. That Paxton game, I think they have to win that if they want a chance to win this series, because that is obviously their best chance to win the series here in their best game that they have a chance to win, because I do think that they're going to light up James Paxton. He's that kind of guy that has the profile of a guy that the Pirates should actually do pretty well against. So we'll see how the Pirates manage this. I would attack early, swing early in counts, try to get on base, clog the base pass as much as you can against this Dodgers team. But again, recently the Pirates have had success against the Dodgers, and with Henry Davis back, how does he impact this roster and what it will be doing going into this series against the LA Dodgers to kick off the first full week of June? We'll discuss that in a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Pirates is brought to you by FanDuel. Make sure you go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn for all of your betting needs on the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we'll get to that as a conversation a little bit later in the show. But it's winner take all now in the NBA and the NHL. You got the Mavericks and the Celtics tipping off on Thursday in the NBA Finals for the Larry O'Brien Trophy. The Stanley Cup Final, the largest distance between two teams in a championship series against the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers for the Stanley Cup. And if you think you know who's going to win those, go to FanDuel, because FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads. You can bet on money lines. You can bet on player props and more. Just remember, if you're in Major League Baseball, don't be Tucupita Marcano, though. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make every single playoff shot count, and bet on baseball. If you think Henry Davis is going to come back and get more than 1.5 total bases as a player prop, folks, go bet on it at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and an official sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network. And folks, welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day. Don't forget to check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, your source for 24/7 sports coverage on the Locked On Podcast Network. You can find it on YouTube, where you found this show, and on Amazon Fire TV, free and available to you all the time. Locked On is always here for you, the fans, and I couldn't ask for better fans of this show than all of you. And I love every single day that I get to come on and do this show with all of you. I'm going on year 4. This is my 4th season covering this Pittsburgh Pirates team. And one of the guys that I've pretty much grown with on this show at this point is Henry Davis, the 1-1 pick from 2022 out of the University of Louisville, catcher. He's had a weird string of things so far in his major league career. We obviously saw 2023 with Henry Davis playing in right field a good bit. Didn't really make a lot of sense. He played it in the minor leagues. He just didn't look comfortable out there. We go into 2024, get the unfortunate news that Endy Rodriguez is going to be injured for the year, so that removed him from the catching picture. Joey Bart was introduced midseason via waivers. Yasmani Grandal was picked up as an FA, and Jason DeLay has been on and off the injured list. And Henry Davis had every opportunity to showcase and really take over that position earlier this season, and he just didn't do it. I mean, he really struggled before he left. A 162 batting average this year so far, a 486 OPS, only 4 RBIs and 68 total at-bats. Just not good. Just really not good for Henry Davis at all. And what I found more concerning from Henry while he was here beforehand was the high whiff rates and the high strikeout rates. He was striking out at a 31% rate. He was whiffing at a 34.6 rate, which led to an expected batting average of 182. So you couldn't really get all that upset with the Pirates that they were going to option Davis and do what they had to do. But it is interesting because he's been with the Indianapolis Indians since May 3rd. So he's been there for a minute. And you look now that he's pretty much had a full month, pretty much what he had at the MLB level. He had a full month, pretty much a little bit over that, and then a full month now with AAA. So he goes down to the Indians in Indianapolis, Circle City. Love those jerseys, by the way. So, as I wrote in a story on Steel City Pirates when this was broken by Jason Mackey that he was going to be returning to the big league roster, he's improved all of those metrics since he's went down. You look at his short time in AAA and the statistics that he posted, that strikeout rate that I mentioned that was a 31% at the MLB level dropped to 12.8%. His whiff rate from 34.6% dropped down to 26.9%. And his expected batting average was up from that terrible 182 clip to a solid 400 even expected batting average in his time in AAA. Now, over the course of his time in the minor leagues, Davis has been a phenomenal player. I mean, career 968 OPS, 515 at-bats. But then you look at the bigs and it's a 201. So the biggest question now surrounding Henry Davis is he can prove that he can do it in the minor leagues. He can do it in AAA. He's shown that. But how does he bring that to the major league level with him? Because he's very important to the future of this team. He's a 1-1 overall pick. He's the future of the catching position as of right now. So you want him to figure it out. So what I find interesting is you hear all about, like all we heard about was his defense, and now it's the offense. The defense was fine before he left. He had a 100% block rate on pitches in the dirt. You'll take that all the time. Now that he's back, what are the adjustments that we want to see? What are the things that you want to see from Henry Davis and what he can offer for this team? One, hope the defense stays the same. You don't want that to be a big issue and become a big issue on top of the offensive issues. But what I find interesting and something that I saw too from Davis in his time in AAA is he started to finally use the entirety of the baseball field again. He was finding ways, to put the ball in areas where it mattered and put the balls in areas that weren't just left field or the left side of the infield. That's all we were seeing from him before when the season started. That's all we saw. Now you're starting to see him spray the ball everywhere, and that's what you want to see. You want to see him find ways to use the entirety of the field, use that power that we know he has because he hit 7 home runs since he was with Indianapolis on May 3rd with 17 RBIs. So you know the kid can hit the baseball and hit it hard. And I think that was the biggest thing, truthfully, that he needed going back to AAA was that he just needed to prove to himself that he can hit the baseball and hit it hard again and also get some confidence back because you could slowly see his demeanor kind of change. You could slowly see that he was getting very frustrated, especially against fastballs. And now that's another thing that I want to get into as well with Davis is that he's always been struggling with fastballs since he came up. In 2023, he had a 234 batting average against fastballs, which in all reality is not that bad, but it could be better. So in 2024, you'd expect, okay, hopefully he stays around that clip, right? Well, that's went down to a 149. And it doesn't help that on breaking pitches, he's hitting 133 against those. So he has to find some way to hit fastballs in the major leagues. Now, that's why I agree that he doesn't need to play tonight against Glasnow. I don't know what they're going to do, but Glasnow is one of those pitchers that has a high-velocity, elite fastball for the Dodgers, and he's going to use it. And I don't think it's good for Davis to be facing that right away. Now, if he does, I am going to look and see how he makes contact against it and what he does at the plate to adjust, because he does struggle with things that are high in the zone. And these are just all the things that we want to see. How can he hit MLB fastballs? How can he adjust at the plate mid-at-bat to ensure that he gets on base and gets hits? He doesn't need to hit home runs constantly. We're not asking for that out of Davis. It would be nice, but we're not asking that out of him. We're asking him to be a steady offensive presence at the catcher position, which is something the Pirates truthfully haven't seen in a very long time. I'd even probably go all the way back to Russell Martin because Cervelli was great, wasn't the greatest hitter. Austin Hedges, Lord knows he wasn't. Grandal is just past his prime. DeLay is a serviceable offensive player, but a catcher, but he's not anything that you say is great. So you want Davis to at least offer something offensively behind the backstop, because it's something they just haven't had. And your hope going into this is that Davis comes back and has kind of a Nick Gonzalez resurgence a little bit. Gonzalez has been a welcome surprise since coming up from AAA, been a very steady presence in the middle of the order, has done very good things for this Pirates offense so far. And that's what you hope that Henry Davis can come back and do as well. If he can adjust to the fastballs, use the entirety of the field, and bring some of that pop with him that he found in AAA, folks, I don't think he's going to have much of an issue. Truthfully, I don't think he's going to have a ton of issues at all. You just hope that some of that good play that he's bringing from AAA can eventually come back and work for him at the MLB level. And we'll see how it goes. And hopefully this is his last promotion, because I don't want to see him get sent down again, because then you're going to be starting to have a lot of interesting conversations about Davis and his future with the team if he really does struggle for the rest of 2024. We're going to get into all of this stuff that we found out yesterday about Tucupita Marcano and his lifetime ban from baseball for gambling on the sport. We'll get to that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Pirates is brought to you by eBay Motors. Millions of parts for your MVP, and you can win every time with parts that fit your ride. If you guys didn't know, I live in Johnstown, Pennsylvania now. I go to Pirates games quite a bit, and that's a decent little drive. It's about an hour and a half, so I always want to make sure that my car's brakes are good, the tires are good, engine's good, oil's good. I need to make sure all of that stuff is in order so that I can get back and forth safely from PNC Park back to lovely Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And if I'm looking for parts that I need that are going to fit my ride, I go to eBay Motors, because passion, drive, and patience are the formula for winning championships, and also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. You go from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, and more. And whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. That's always nice, right? Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home those huge victories. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. And folks, welcome to the third and final segment of today's episode of Locked On Pirates here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day. And what we're going to talk about now doesn't directly affect the Pittsburgh Pirates at this current moment, but I figured it was warranted to talk about, because Tucupita Marcano, folks, has received a lifetime ban from the sport of Major League Baseball for betting on MLB-related games, Pirates games, and a bunch of other things in his time with the Pittsburgh Pirates. There was a lot of stuff that came out about this. We kind of heard out a little bit about it yesterday. There's some other players that are going to be out for a year, those being the A's, Michael Kelly, Padres, Jay Groom, Phillies, Jose Rodriguez, and Diamondbacks, Andrew Salfrank. So very interesting stuff to come out here. And Alex Stump filled us in a little bit with a media kind of like layout about everything that happened. San Diego Padres Major League infielder outfielder Tucupita Marcano has been declared permanently ineligible for violating MLB sports betting rules and policies, including Rule D2. So can't do this as a player. And from October, that says betting data shows that from October 16th, 2022 through October 23rd, 2022, and from July 12th, 2023 through November 1st, 2023, Marcano placed 387 baseball bets, including 231 MLB-related bets, among other bets on international baseball games through a legal sports book. So legally did bet on this. He did not illegally bet on anything, but Marcano's MLB bets were generally parlays, which would sometimes include multiple MLB related legs, and they would sometimes include MLB related legs and non-MLB related legs. In total, Marcano bet more than $150,000 on baseball, with $87,319 of that on MLB related bets, an average of about $378 per bet. Of the over 200 MLB bets that Marcano placed over this period, 25 of those included Pirates games while he was assigned to the Pirates MLB roster. Marcano did not appear in any of those games on which he placed bets. However, because all of Marcano's Pirates-related bets and the vast majority of his bets overall occurred during the period after he suffered a season-ending knee injury on July 24, 2023, and was receiving medical treatment at PNC Park. So that's where the Pirates come into this. Marcano was doing all this while he was in a Pittsburgh Pirates uniform, technically. He was obviously recovering from his knee surgery. We remember Marcano getting injured at the end of the year, or the middle of the year last year, and being out for the season. And it's very interesting how this is all coming together, because sports betting is such a big part of the sports landscape now. You have players promoting FanDuel, they promote DraftKings, they promote Caesar Sportsbook, they promote SoRare, they promote Underdog Fantasy, they promote all these things. And this is obviously something you can't do if you're a player. But it would not shock me, and I'll read the rest of this here in a minute before I get to the rest of my point, and consistent with Marcano's overall baseball betting activity, almost all of Marcano's Pirates bets were on which club, the Pirates or their opponent, would win the game, or whether there would be more or less than a certain number of runs scored in the game. Ultimately, Marcano lost all of his parlays involving the Pirates and only won 4.3 of all of his MLB-related bets overall. So the last part, not all that important because he just wasn't winning any bets. But with all of the attention on gambling around sports, I do think it's interesting, especially with baseball, how this is going to be brought up when the new CBA is eventually brought up in a year or two, because you can't really, I mean, we obviously had the whole Shohei Ohtani thing with his interpreter, right? And they find out that Ohtani didn't do anything bad and nothing came from it and all that other stuff, right? So then you move forward with a guy like Marcano, obviously not of the caliber player that Ohtani is. And you see these other players, all those guys I mentioned, obviously not superstars. But there's so many different avenues for this that I do find it interesting on how MLB is going to eventually crack down on it. Now, with Marcano being suspended permanently from baseball, that's a message. But how hard is it for players to really do it through other avenues? And when you're consistently, and I mean consistently, advertising it on your platforms, how do you stop it? I don't know what way you do. And that's just the way in the direction that sports are going, not just baseball. Football is all the same. Basketball is all the same. Hockey is just the same. Even soccer is doing it daily. Golf does it daily. Even wrestling, WWE. You can bet on WWE on DraftKings. I mean, it's a part of the sports umbrella now. And how MLB navigates it through the future, I think is going to be very interesting. Folks, thank you so much for tuning into the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates every day. Find the show on YouTube and all of your audio platforms every Monday through Friday. It's free and available to you every Monday through Friday to do that for yourself. Follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates for all of your news, analysis, opinions, and reactions to everything going on in the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And until tomorrow, see you on the flip side.